Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're going to be talking about the spell Sunburst.
It's not quite Starburst, less tasty, but is more effective.
Yeah. I'll start off this by saying this. Reading the spell description, I am really looking forward to the day when I get John Luther Davis to do the art for this spell. I think this one's going to be a winner.
Probably. It's big, flashy, to say the least, kind of effect.
Yeah.
A big explosion of holy radiant light. Oh, not even a cleric spell.
What is it, paladin?
Druid, sorcerer, wizard.
Oh.
Yeah.
I should probably look at these before we talk about them.
Same.
All right. Yeah. All right. What does this do?
It deals 12d6 radiant damage in a 60-foot sphere, and it blinds things that fail to save for a minute, which is pretty fun.
Is it pretty? It's an 8th level spell. Is that 12d6? How does that compare to the fireball?
It's 1d6 under an upcast fireball. You're basically giving a 1d6 damage for an upcast for a blind attached to a fireball in a bigger area.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, a 60-foot radius is gigantic. Like that will hit most things you want it to hit. It dispelling darkness doesn't matter. It just doesn't. Your upper level villains aren't casting darkness. It's a 3rd level. No, it's just not happening. So the bulk of the time, what this is a fireball with a blind, which you'll be happy to cast as a druid. Druids don't have that many damaging spells, so this is a pretty good one on the list for them to have. They don't have fireball naturally, so having the ability to get a fireball-esque effect that has a good blind condition on it, sure, it's great. Sorcerer Wizard, I think you're a little bit less strapped for damage spells, and you can have 8th level effects that are probably going to be better than this. I say probably, but like this is good enough. And if you really want to minute a blind, sure, Sunburst is very acceptable.
I think it's pretty cool because you're gonna. I mean, all right, it depends on the fight you're in. I guess maybe not against one big dude, but against a lot of like medium creatures or something, medium challenge rating. Then yeah, if you're casting it at a horde of something, you might take some out. You take out a percentage of them.
Oh, for sure.
Cripple a bunch more, and then all right. When I meant cripple, I meant severely hurt. I realize now that the blinding is making them disabled. Not what I meant. But yes, also blinding a bunch of the ones that do survive.
Yes.
Move on so we can get past this awkward moment.
Okay. Basically, if there's something that has 20 or less HP, this auto kills it. That's great. That's a lot of like CR 1-ish or less things probably die to this. Mid-sized things that fail to save probably die too, because it's 42 damage. 40 damage is enough to kill CR like 2 or 3 things sometimes. And the blind condition hits the rest of them. This is something that you're pretty happy to like going into against the undead hordes. This kills a lot of the undead hordes. If we're talking about that tier of play, we're looking at a way more. Like, we need to be talking about way more large quantities of things for these spells to feel like they have big impacts. Otherwise, they just win encounters. Like, fighting against 150 zombies doesn't really matter if all of them die to a single sunburst. So you're probably looking at environments and kinds of encounters that are going to shape it where that's part of a larger scope encounter that your DM is planning for because you're dealing with upper level casters and you just expect they can level whole fields of monsters. And in those environments where you have the things that are looking say like 150, 200 HP that are like the mid-sized things that your fighters and paladins and stuff are going to go take down after this, you basically sunburst, clear the way, blind the big things, and then they get the crap kicked out of them by the martial characters that dive in there and get advantage on the attack rolls attacking blind creature for the minute. So it's good. Yeah. It has a very clear environment where it's exceptional. Even in its worst case scenario, like hitting 3 things with 12d6 damage for an 8th level slot, I mean, that's not game warping levels of power. I'm fine with that. Like, that's an acceptable amount of damage at most tables that I play at. If you're in the super powerful, people are cheesing the crap out of everything. This is no animal shapes. This is no conjuration magic, but it is a perfectly serviceable spell for most people.
Well, it passes your fireball test, though. I mean,
yeah.
It must. The blind condition's got to be worth D6.
Yes.
Yeah.
A D6 damage is definitely worth a trade-off. A minute of it, especially for the blind. And while, it may only be a round or 2 of it because they might eventually save, it's enough that you're giving advantage on a bunch of attacks. It hits a ton of creatures.
Yeah.
This is worth the 8th level slot. Assuredly, it isn't, again, game warping by any stretch.
Man, well, is there anything you'd compare this one to?
Fireball? Honestly,
well, yeah, that's the only thing that comes
what
to
this
mind.
is. this is damage plus condition. So anything that does damage plus condition, you're gonna be like, okay, is this good enough? There's other spell effects that are in the sun category. Sunbeam is the immediate one that you would be like, oh, are these kind of the same? Sunbeam is a 6th level spell. It's doing radiant damage and blinding, but it's only blinding until their next turn. So it's a little bit worse. This blinds them for a minute, which is substantially better. But oftentimes, if you're in fights that are going quickly, that is gonna be like sometimes Sunbeam is just enough. Where you're like, I need 1 round of blinds. The advantage on attack rolls is enough to drop all the things that we care about. We got an extra crit on our rogue or whatever, and now they're super deceased. That's something you can compare it to. If you're in a longer scale fight, longer blinds are better. If you're in a shorter scale fight, shorter blinds are better. So like, it isn't all that revolutionary. It isn't all that super exciting. It's being blind is I want to say it's about as good as being poisoned. So if you're looking at something like Cloud Kill, if you're looking at blind giant AoE poison spells, we're kind of comparable to the blind. This look, we know how good these effects are. Getting advantage on attack rolls is the main meat of it, and the damage attached to it's important. So those two things together make it this is a combative support spell, and in those instances, it's good when you want that.
I see in your notes you got druid versus sorcerer wizard. Is that? Let me. Are you just gonna say, well, druids don't get fireball, so this is acceptable? Or
literally what I said earlier? Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now, what about being a sorcerer wizard? You got options for both. What do you cast?
I think most of the time, if I'm playing a sorcerer or wizard, I'm taking 3 or 4 damaging spells throughout my entire spell book. Sorcerer, I'm probably taking even less than that because sorcerers get only known spells. So on sorcerer wizards, you probably have better options than this you're fine to upcast, right? Like, I don't think this is that much better than fireball that I'm willing to give up a more powerful 8th level spell that I would know and be able to cast.
Especially you're not gonna not take fireball.
Exactly, it's gonna be on your sheet already anyway.
Yeah.
There will be definitely times where you'll be the character that's like, I want a new damage spell. I'm tired of casting fireball. This spell is good. Great. It slots in over something else. It being inflexible and only being able to cast an 8th level slot is kind of new. Don't love that. As a druid, again, if you're a druid looking for top end damage, this is it. This is like, I believe the highest level damaging spell you get for the most part. I'll check right now, but like your 9th level druid spells are Shape Change, Foresight, Storm of Vengeance, and True Resurrection. Storm of Vengeance isn't a damage spell, even though it sounds like it is. So you're really like locked in. If you want your top end damage, it is Sunburst. I guess Tsunami kind of, but like for the most part, you're gonna fall back on Sunburst as a druid. It's just that's as much damage as you can do. When you're a sorcerer wizard and 3 levels, you're gonna Meteor Swarm. So like,
yeah, all right, that's true.
This damage isn't all that amazing. I'm not that excited to use it. Whereas you could be getting other 8th level spell slots. Like, let me check. Let me see what it's off the top of my head that's better. Incendiary Cloud is a lot of damage over a large period of time. It's pretty good. Dominate Monsters, Bananas busted. You can get stuff like okay, Anti-Magic Field's pretty great there too. It's a really cool utility spell to have access to. Demiplane is super neat. Like, there's a lot of really cool effects in the 8th level spells that I much rather have on my character sheet and then just let my damage spells do their damage. But again, that's not for everyone. Some people want cool new damage spells. Sunburst is for you.
Yeah, and I mean, there's one thing we haven't really touched on. It dispels magical darkness, but yeah,
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Not text. Doesn't matter. Sorry. It just, if you're in an environment where you're caring about magical darkness and you're dealing with like top tier encounters, just move out of it. Just move the 30 feet that's out of the darkness. It's not that hard. You don't give a shit. It dispels darkness.
All right. That's I guess that's Sunburst. What you got a SAM score?
Yep. I think this is the definition of a 3 out of 5. This is about as mediocre and fine as a spell as you get.
I'm gonna give it a generous 4 out of 5. I am foreseeing the picture that John Luther Davis is going to draw.
It evokes that really excellent imagery.
Yeah, I like it, and I like slightly less fireball, but also with a blinding condition. That's
tried and true formula. Again, I'm not the kind of player that enjoys this kind of thing. I want to do the wackier, wilder stuff, but you're the kind of person that does enjoy this kind of thing. So it's good that they exist.
Yeah. All right, that was Sunburst, everyone. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of The Spell, and other fun things.